You are listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector here at the Private Officer Beat Radio. Every week you'll hear breaking news, topics of training, information for the industry of security, public safety, and law enforcement. So strap in, hang on, we're about to speed off in this episode of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. On this Monday morning, January 10, 2022, a lot happening here in our office. You'll probably be hearing some tones, radios, and so forth. We've got a busy week already starting, and we want to get this radio broadcast out at the same time. Yesterday, Sunday, January the 9th, 2022, was a very important day, and probably one that wasn't even known to you or maybe recognized. But yesterday was the National Police Appreciation Day. And unfortunately, we just do not appreciate our law enforcement to the degree that they deserve. Every single day, law enforcement do things that very few others would do. And yet, they don't get the accolades. They don't get the pats on the backs. I've been involved in law enforcement and the fire and EMS for many years. And I have to be honest with you, when the fire service shows up, everyone's happy. When the cops show up, they're not. Regardless, the only time that they really are happy is if they are the victim of crime. Let me tell you this now. We stand together with the police, and the majority of America is pro-police. And this has been a proven fact time and time again through many studies, interviews nationwide. The majority of our citizens are pro-police. And in fact, in recent months, guess what? There are campaigns and movements across the country to refund the police, to begin hiring and staffing to the adequate numbers required by federal law. Nationwide campaigns of I stand with the blue. And I do, and I hope that you do too. Sure, there are human issues, dishonesty, wrong choices, bad cops, excessive use of force. Honest and good cops hate the bad cops worse than the citizens. These are current optics of the media. We want to portray, or the media wants to portray, them in the darkest of light, when in fact, issues that happen are small, very small, almost minute in numbers. The same as for the lethal use of force. The use of force that the police are involved in is minuscule, and yet the media continues to broadcast it out like it happens every day. And what's really disheartening and aggravating and really makes me mad is that they don't broadcast all of the good that the police is doing, which far outweighs what they're doing bad. And they only want the optics to be when a minority is injured or killed by law enforcement, when in fact, the minorities are a minority. The majority of people killed and involved in lethal force incidents with law enforcement is Caucasian. And that has been proven by independent studies and by the Washington Post, which keeps their own record of use of force of police. And they have released numerous stories over the last 3 years showing the facts. And yet, people don't want to hear that. Are you supporting law enforcement? Are you going to be there when they need you? Let's always show our support, whether it's the National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day or not. Let's stand together. As private security, public safety, private police, we need to be partners with law enforcement. And through each other's support, we can overcome the current problems, conflicts, all of the pushback from certain groups. We can take back our country and restore law and order. Today is all about recognizing law and order and how security really is an integral part of that. You're listening to the Private Officer Beat Radio. We're coming right back. Remember, Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you, no doubt about it. Just go to their website, bodyarmorusa.com. We have got the best ballistic vest, protective clothing, gloves, stab-resistant vest, and so much more. Body Armor USA. We'll be right back.
America. It's the greatest country on earth. A nation of diversity, strength, patriotism. Now, for years, we've called ourselves the United States. But you put on the TV, the news, log on to social media, you sort of have to wonder if we've become the divided states. It feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone. There's this narrative circulating that police officers are racist killers, despite the data that shows this couldn't be further from the truth. We now have politicians who are openly embracing anarchy, protecting criminals who break the law while handcuffing our law enforcement officers. Our cities are burning. Our officers are bleeding. Our businesses are being torched. We're being told don't go out in public because of the pandemic unless you go out to support anti-police protests. And apparently the solution to this problem is to defund them so that they can't afford to be properly trained, properly staffed, or properly protected. And if, God forbid, you speak out against it, you are shamed, doxxed, attacked, humiliated, and targeted. Many of you were proudly displaying the thank you first responder signs in the windows of your home, while police officers drove by with lights and sirens in a parade to wish your child a happy birthday. Now you're taking them down because you're worried that the signs and thin blue line flags will make you a target. You're told silence is violence if you don't speak out against police. Well, guess what? Silence is anarchy. And while America burns, your fear of supporting the police is leading them to believe that they are hated in America. Our team at Law Enforcement Today believes that the overwhelming majority of Americans support law enforcement, but you're afraid to say it. You are afraid of the repercussions. You feel alone, like you're the only people in your neighborhood that actually support the cops. Today, we change that. Right here, right now. Because there are currently approximately 850,000 sworn law enforcement officers out there who did not sign up for this. They signed up to serve and protect and to keep you and your family safe. And now they are under attack. Today, backup has arrived. And this time, it's all of us. I'll never forget the interview I did with an officer who was shot in the line of duty. He told me the greatest sound he ever heard was the sound of sirens.
I called out for help, and all my brothers from different counties, different states, were coming to help me.
Today, we are that backup. Countless officers have fought for us, have bled for us, have died for us.
118 South is my family alone. I can't copy. 118 South, my family alone.
And now it's time for us to have their say. Americans naturally want to be a part of a winning team. I believe that's why everyone has been so quiet about their support for law enforcement. They think that they're in the minority. So let's do some math. There are approximately 331 million Americans. Now, according to a Gallup poll, 85% of Americans support law enforcement. That means 285 million Americans stand behind law enforcement. Now, let's say Gallup is wrong. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say it's not the overwhelming majority of Americans that support law enforcement, which you and I both know it is. Let's say it's just 5% of Americans who support the police. 5%. That's 16.5 million people. At the height of World War II, the size of the United States military was approximately 12 million Americans. Our nation became back-to-back World War champions with an army that was only 12 million strong. It's time for us to get back to our roots and build that army of support. It's in our DNA as Americans to be protectors. We protect other countries. We protect innocent people. Our law enforcement have protected us and our families. It's time for us to step up and protect them. If you were walking down the street and you saw somebody physically attacking a police officer, are you going to pretend you didn't see it? Are you just going to walk by and pretend that officer wasn't being violently assaulted? Probably not. So why are you doing that here? Now, I'm not asking you to raise a fist, but I am asking you to raise your voices and get in this fight. You've seen what the cancel culture has done. They've shut down cops. They've shut down Live PD. I mean, they've even gone after Paw Patrol. And so here's how we are fighting back. We've hired dozens of new writers at law enforcement today. Most of them are active, retired, or wounded police officers or their family members. Their sole job is to bring you the stories of what's really happening in America. And we're putting cinematographers on the road to capture the stories of police officers and patriotic Americans, the stories that the mainstream media often refuses to show you. Stop being the silent majority and be a part of the army that will help save America. You are not alone. But right now, our officers sure are. Backup has arrived, and this time, it's all of us. We will stand together, we will stand strong, and we will declare these are our officers, this is our country, this is our America. Today, we rise.
Who knows what a child will grow up to be? It's one of the coolest things about kids. The unknown, the potential, the chance to do or become whatever they can imagine. But what if something happens during childhood that stops them from reaching that potential? Did you know that preventable injuries are the #1 killer of children in the United States? And around the world, one child dies from a preventable injury every 30 seconds. But the important thing to remember about preventable injuries is that they're preventable. We can do something to stop them. Things to make sure kids get the chance to be creative and play. The chance to take chances and explore. The chance to fall down and get back up. Help us give your kids, and every kid, the chance to grow up, reach their potential, and become whatever they can imagine. Learn how at safekids.org.
Welcome back to this edition of the Private Officer Beat Radio. Always glad to have you here with us as we are rounding the corner to episode 600, just a couple of episodes away. And be sure to join us this week on Wednesday at 4 p.m. for the LP Zone, Loss Prevention, where everything is all about retail security, mall security, plainclothes security, loss prevention and asset protection, and, of course, ORC, Organized Retail Crime. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit in the program about employee theft and some new scams that have broke the horizon. Be sure to be listening. Of course, you can always listen on demand if you're not available during the radio show on the iHeartRadio, Amazon Radio Network, and many other places where you get your podcasts, news, music, and whatever else that you download from these platforms. So far this year, 7 days into the year, 4 security officers are dead. 3 have been murdered. We are very, very disturbed by the fact that 84 security officers were murdered in 2021, 91% by gunfire, and yet very few have responded, whether that be the media, our own association members, companies, big or small. Very few have responded, even though this information was not only put out across our own platforms, which have hundreds of thousands of followers, but also we have sent this out to a press release. And although it was picked up by a major news carrier, it just didn't make the usual rounds across the media platforms. 84 security officers murdered last year, 91% by gunfire. We should be beating the drums. We should be out there getting this information in front of our local media. We should be out there talking to security companies and providers and clients and everyone else to let them know how dangerous it has become for private security. And yet, we haven't. This last week in Dallas, a female security officer, partially nude, was found in the roadway. A worker on the way to work called police about a body on the side of Arrow Road. Police found a partially nude and partially clothed security officer. Police said that they don't know who she is because she had no identification. They're running her fingerprints. They're not 100% sure if she was sexually assaulted, but it does look like some type of kidnapping, murder. Last year, we had 4 kidnappings of security officers. In 2021, 2 resulted in homicides. 1 resulted in the burning of the security officer body after the person killed her in Florida while she was on duty. She was kidnapped from a condominium, taken to the next county over, murdered, and set on fire. We are in a time when security officers are easy targets for robberies, for homicides. Many of the security officers this past year, we don't have a percentage, but we know there was quite a few that were armed. So again, it doesn't really mean that if you're armed, you're not going to be a victim of homicide or that you're even going to have an opportunity to defend yourself, although having a firearm at least gives you a fighting chance. This year so far has shown that it's just in a continuation of last year, 2021. It doesn't look good for the security industry. If you've got any ideas, please send those to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We recently took a survey on our social media about how we can make some changes. Next week on the Private Officer Beat Radio, we will be bringing that to you. The 17th of this month, we will be bringing to you those comments and some other information about making our workplace safer. Remember, we are working right now still on the virtual museum, and if you would like to be part of it, a very cool project indeed, all that you have to do is send an email to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. I guarantee you it doesn't take a lot of time, but it sure is going to be a lot of fun, and once that project is up and running, it's going to make a substantial impact on security, on the community, on the public. When they see this material that we're putting together about the security industry, it's going to be eye-opening. And remember, you can also be part of the various committees that we have, the Benevolent Committee, which we really need you to get involved in, helping us to assist security officers injured or killed in the line of duty. And we also have an opening currently on the Award Committee where we get together and discuss those personnel, those officers who have been nominated for or should be nominated for an award. Just contact us at helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Hey, great news. There's still time for you to sign up for the Citizens Police Academy, the Armor College Session 2 Police Academy, Citizens Police Academy, kicks off tomorrow, the 11th, and you can still go to armorcollege.org and sign up today. Register for this 15-week virtual police academy, Citizens Police Academy. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it. A lot of great information, a lot of great subjects, and I really think that you're going to benefit from this. You're going to get, of course, a certificate, officer letter. You're going to get a police patch from the Armor College Police Department, and so much more. You'll also be an automatic member of the Citizens Police Academy alumni. Go to armorcollege.org today and sign up to be part of that great program. Remember that you can advertise at the Private Officer International platforms, on our radio shows, our magazines, our multiple websites, our new Frontline Protector platform. If you want to advertise your service or your product, your company, send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We have a one-price, all-inclusive marketing plan. Trust me, it's very affordable. You're going to get a lot of benefits and a lot of results. Send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. One other note that I should give you before we go to our next break. Remember, here at Private Officer International, we have a lot of things happening. We just announced over the last 4 months about the new Frontline Protectors platform. This is a production of Private Officer International and Blue Ram Media. Well, we're going to be hiring. We have some positions. Right now, we're looking for cameramen. We're looking for video producers, people who know how to put things together. You can work from home. We have a lot of different positions happening. Send us your email and your resume, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. helpdesk@privateofficer.com. As usual, we got a lot of breaking news. We're going to bring all that to you. And, of course, we're going to be talking about a very important subject. And don't forget, go to armorcollege.org right now. Sign up for the Citizen Police Academy. And while you're there, check out our more than 400 courses. And if you're in, maybe you're an instructor, maybe that you teach certain things, no matter where you're at, if you're in the U.S. or Canada, Armor College is always looking to hire adjunct instructors. Drop your resume with them, and they will schedule an interview with you. We're coming right back here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
Human trafficking is slavery.
And it happens all over America.
Any child, any woman, any man could potentially become a victim of human trafficking.
I am a victim of labor trafficking.
I was victim of child sex trafficking, but now I own my body.
Human trafficking is any kind of forced labor.
It can happen to anybody.
I am a mother.
I am an author.
I am a son.
I'm an advocate.
I am an educator.
I'm a sister.
I am a brother.
I'm so much more than what happened to me.
I am strong.
I am brave.
I am outspoken.
I am compassionate.
I am a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor.
I am a survivor of human trafficking.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the voice of the Frontline Protector right here on the Private Officer Radio Network. Now don't go away, because we are coming right back when we've got a whole lot more right here on the Private Officer Beat Radio.
If you're not already receiving breaking news and our bi-weekly newsletter, Officer Down Reports, and discount training news in your personal or business email, then go to our website right now at privateofficer.org. Privateofficer.org. A Dropbox will come down. Just fill out your info, and you'll be the first, one of the first, for sure, to know about what's happening in the security industry. You'll know when a security officer is killed. You'll also get these great discounts on training and equipment and so much more. Privateofficer.org. And if you're not already a member of the Private Officer International Association, sign up while you're there today. Become a lifetime member for just $99, and will also include a free Private Officer International patch and lapel pin. All right, we're back here on this Monday morning, the 10th of January 2022. Right here, we're at the news desk. Of course, always plenty of news coming in the office 24/7, 365 days a year. We have a lot happening right now, even as we are here on the radio show. A lot of news is coming in at the very moment here. While broadcasting, scanners are going, a lot of activity. You may hear that in the background. In the news this past week, the U.S. Marshals have announced their stats for the year 2021. Now, the U.S. Marshals is one of those agencies, I believe, that is often underrated and doesn't get all of the accolades that other law enforcement agents and officers do. If I were younger and I was seeking a career in law enforcement, I can tell you I would definitely go to the U.S. Marshal. Not only is it fun, you get to do a lot of different things. You travel, you get to be part of many different teams. And like I said, it's just a very, very unique law enforcement agency. And at the end of the day, when the bad guy's in handcuffs, you know you've done your job and that you have made a difference. And that's what I love about them. But the U.S. Marshal Service has arrested 84,247 fugitives in 2021. Of those, 27,900 were on federal warrants. 56,848 of those were wanted on state and local warrants. On average, the U.S. Marshals arrested 337 fugitives every single day, day in and day out. A further breakdown on those stats, they arrested 10,510 sex offenders, 6,240 known gang members, 6,119 persons wanted for homicide. That's a very substantial number. 1,239 fugitives wanted in foreign countries. The FBI, working with liaisons from various countries, were able to get them into custody and transfer them to the country that had the warrant. The Organized Crime Enforcement Task Force made 1,002 arrests for numerous federal crimes and organized crime. 270 people were arrested in what's known as the Adam Walsh Act violation, which has to do with child protection and safety. The FBI also arrested one top fugitive. And additionally, the U.S. Marshals were able to arrest or to recover 7,028 guns and reduce violence during their encounters. 99,607 total warrants were cleared. Some fugitives had more than one warrant. 64,650 were local state warrants. The U.S. Marshals is well known and has been around for a very long time. The way that the operation works, they often have agents, officers, investigators
from around the U.S. They have more than 1,500 different law enforcement agencies that support their effort with offices throughout the country. They are a phenomenal agency and do a wonderful bang-up job. Like I said, they just don't get the credit as most law enforcement don't. In Gardena, California, a former security officer at the Memorial Hospital has filed a lawsuit for intolerable working conditions. This after the security officer says the working condition that she worked in was outrageous. She was made to clean a malfunctioning freezer filled with decomposing dead bodies, many from COVID, many where fluids were visible leaking out of these body bags. She is seeking compensation for emotional trauma, stress, adverse health consequences, and I'll tell you, we brought this story about a week ago. There will be other lawsuits because this is not just the only hospital who has put security personnel to work in these intolerable conditions, but numerous. We now know at least 5 hospitals across the country have reassigned security personnel not only to move bodies, but to put them in body bags. And we're talking many COVID victims. The former security officer says after alerting her supervisors about this situation and wanting to get back into just doing security, she was made to continue cleaning those broken freezers. And so now she's filing a lawsuit. And like I said, I believe that probably there'll be others coming right behind hers. A very sad situation in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. I've known of an officer myself who was in the same situation a number of years ago. A police officer in the small town of Hazelhurst, Mississippi, on Sunday responded to a shooting. Police officer LaQuandia Cooley arrived and found that the homicide victim was her own son, 20-year-old Charles Stewart Jr., who had been shot in the head. There's no words. How can you possibly even imagine what she felt or what she is experiencing? The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation has taken over the homicide investigation. In Long Island, New York, a security officer has been arrested for stealing more than $4,000 worth of tools and items from the city of Selden, New York. The security officer on duty in the small town is accused of burglarizing several buildings and stealing leaf blowers, chainsaws, and other equipment. Robert Chura, 29, has been charged with numerous felonies, and because he was working for the town, he is also facing additional charges relating to theft by an employee. Last week, Private Officer International partnered with the General Assembly in the state of Kentucky for a new law called the Christopher's Law, named in honor of Christopher McKinney, who was killed by some bouncers in Louisville during 2020. As of right now, there's no training or licensing requirement for security officers in the state of Kentucky, except in the cities of Lexington and Louisville. And we have partnered up with the representative who has decided to take this and create this new law requiring training. State Representative Lisa Wilner and her constituents and I are now talking about how we can move forward in the state legislators to get this legislative law passed. And I'm sure that this is going to be an interesting and possibly an uphill battle because they have never had any type of security training or licensing requirement there. In Oakland, California, we told you in 2020 about the just devastating death of Dave Patrick Underwood, a contract federal security officer who was working during one of the violent riots and was murdered while he was standing in front of a courthouse. Now, his sister has filed a federal lawsuit against Facebook, saying that they allowed the extremist movement to continue on Facebook. The charging lawsuit documents say that the platform's recommendation system played a part of the radicalness of the people who are accused of carrying out the shooting, and that they did not do enough to shut down this website, this Facebook page. Although Facebook said that they have banned more than 1,000 militarized social movements from the platform and work closely with experts to address the broader issue of internet crime and groups that focus on radical ideas, they believe that the claim is without legal merit or basis. We will soon find out as we follow this and other results here in this case. COVID testing areas last year and in 2020 often used private security for traffic and crowd control. And now, once again, across the country, COVID testing sites are hiring private security, not only for traffic control, but to stop the tempers that are flying across these testing sites, especially where people are sitting in their vehicles, wound around the block after block for many hours. There have been a number of fights and disturbances. Police in many areas, they just are understaffed and cannot put officers out there. And so now the COVID testing sites have once again hired private security. This past week, Allied Universal has sent out a press release that they have acquired Norred and Associates, an Atlanta-based full-service security firm. They have 830 employees. They do about $35 million worth of business. Allied has been on a buying spree for several years, and now they have another company under their belt. The new Manhattan, New York DA announced this past week he will not pursue many misdemeanors, including resisting arrest, interfering with government officials. He will not proceed against prostitution, but he does want to target the John and the pimp. The new DA, Alvin Bragg, a former federal prosecutor, says he believes in being fair, especially with those who are less fortunate, and he has told his assistant DAs do not issue bail except for in the most extreme violent cases, and that includes for some felonies. Do not issue, in other words, OR, being released on your own recognizance. ROR. So it's not that they're not going to have any bail. They're going to have some bail requirements for the most violent, egregious crime. But most people are going to walk out of there on their own signature, including many times felonies. And he's told his DAs not to prosecute resisting arrest. What kind of message is that sending to the criminal? Fight the police, resist the police, assault the police, escape, you're not going to be prosecuted. Our country is going to hell. A security officer and a witness quickly jumped in to stop a strangulation in northwest Miami-Dade County. The security officer working heard a disturbance and responded to find a man strangling a woman at a bus stop. The security officer is being credited with stopping that assault and scaring off the man. Passerby also jumped into the fray and assisted. 27-year-old Aaron Quininas has been charged with that assault and strangulation. We have a lot of breaking news every week. Remember, just go to our website every single day for fresh news. That's going to be at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com. privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com, and sign up for our breaking news alerts right there in your mailbox. Go to our main website at privateofficer.org. A box will drop down. Just fill out your email address. We're not going to sell it. We're not going to spam you. It's all free. It's not going to cost you nada, not a nickel. In our weird news category this week, Pennsylvania police in Newberry Township made a startling discovery during a suspected DUI traffic stop last week. Police stopped a 19-year-old woman after they say she was driving erratically to find that she was not only under the influence, but that she had an unusual passenger in her vehicle. In the back seat of the vehicle was a deer. Nope, not a deer that they went and hunted, but a live deer. Police report that the woman struck the deer and thought that it was dead on the road. So her passenger, a 21-year-old man, picked it up and put it in the back seat, not knowing what to do with it. But during the traffic stop, guess what? The deer suddenly popped up, and it had only been dazed after being hit by the car. The 21-year-old man exited the vehicle and put the deer into the woods. The female has been charged with DUI. And coming out of Mobile, Alabama, just when you think things couldn't get any stranger, they do. Police, during the day, driving down the road on patrol, pulls over 60-year-old Michael McClellan Tuesday after an officer saw him dragging a set of stadium bleachers behind his vehicle. It was at 12:22 p.m., noontime, broad daylight, people everywhere. What was he thinking? He was seen on Dr. Martin Luther King across from the Catholic cemetery, just driving on down the road with these bleachers behind his car. He had stolen them from the Lions Park. They have, of course, been returned. He's been charged with felony theft. I'm telling you, folks, people do the weirdest, strangest things and think nothing of it. It's funny to me that they always think they're not going to get caught, but they do. And last but not least, Armour College has entered into the charter school arena. Armour College and Technical Institute announced this past week in a press release that they are entering into the charter school arena. The school, founded in 2009, has been offering training for nonprofits, youth training organizations, churches, public and private schools, private businesses, and others, providing vocational and public safety training. We put people to work and keep them there. Now, we are going to provide the training for free by establishing a charter school. An application and formal documents have been filed to create the charter school, offering high school juniors, seniors, young adults, and those needing to retool their education to re-enter the workforce, tuition-free training. A charter school is a privately owned and operated but public school. It is a public school funded through the same sources as any other public school. The name of the new school will be Armour Tech Excel Center, and of course, we are very excited about this. We have a lot of breaking news. Please just go to our website at privateofficerbreakingnews.blogspot.com every single day. And remember, you can send us news that you see or hear. Send us links, anything that you think that our listeners or readers might be interested in, to helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're coming right back, so don't go away. We got a whole lot more to talk about here.
Thoughts of suicide may feel impossible to overcome, but with help and support, you can find hope and meaning. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK to speak to a counselor, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. It's free, it's confidential, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if it feels like it, you're not alone.
Children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many. A message from the Catholic Campaign for Human Development.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Well, we cannot defund the police. We can refund the police. It is Governor Hogan's message alongside additional funding for police departments across the state.
But that message has a lot of critics saying the governor does not get how fighting crime works. WMAR 2 News' Don Harrison has what that money is going to go towards and why those critics say this isn't the right move.
Violent crime is out of control in Baltimore City.
Frustrated by elevated crime numbers, Governor Hogan pulled no punches on his thoughts on the defund the police movement.
Trying to reduce crime by defunding police is dangerous, radical, far-left lunacy.
Friday, the governor announced new funding to be put forth for police and crime prevention in the state. His new program wants to refund the police in Maryland.
With the investment of an additional $150 million of increased support for our police and increased crime control and victim protection services all across the state.
At 6, the city of Portland has surpassed the troubling milestone of 1,000 shootings so far this year, and now commissioners are preparing to update the city budget.
And that could mean an influx of funding for the Portland Police Bureau, whose officers have said they're understaffed and overworked. All new this hour, Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez joins us live with some possible answers. Simon?
Yeah, recently Mayor Ted Wheeler announced some proposals to bolster the city's police bureau, and at least one other city commissioner believes that there's the political will on the city council to do even more. Months removed from protests in the streets and calls to defund or even abolish the police bureau, the city of Portland is confronted by the stark reality of a staggering increase in crime and violence.
particularly gun violence.
It's been pretty painful to watch, being in this line of work, what's happened since GVRT was defunded. The level of gun violence is at a rate we've never seen ever in the city of Portland. Historical.
Acting Lieutenant Ken Dulio is a former member of the Police Bureau's Gun Violence Reduction Team, or GVRT, which, as he mentioned, was eliminated by the City Council in 2020 during a budget adjustment that stripped the Bureau of more than $15 million in funding. Now, with the city living through more than 1,000 shootings this year alone, he's been tasked to lead a new team dedicated to curbing gun violence, the Bureau's Focused Intervention Team.
It feels like the tide is kind of starting to turn a little bit from kind of the anti-police defundment to, hey, we got to right-size the police department.
In September, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler called on the City Council to add money back to the police budget to rehire officers on the brink of retirement in an effort to keep the chronically short-staffed police bureau afloat.
For a city our size, you'd expect us to have about 1,200 cops. Portland is hovering around 700 cops as of today.
Commissioner Mingus Mapps, elected to the City Council in November of 2020, supports the mayor's retire-rehire proposal and wants to go beyond that. During the fall budget management process, known as the fall bump, Max says he'll propose adding funding for body-worn cameras, expanding the Portland Street Response Program to take on up to 5% of police calls for service, and doubling the size of the Police Bureau's Behavioral Health Unit.
It's been a year since the Defund the Police movement rippled across the country. Now, some cities are refunding money to the police departments, putting the money back. Lydia Hu is in New York. How much money are they bringing back to the police in the Big Apple?
Hi there, Stuart. New York City is planning to reinstate $92 million for the construction of a new police precinct here. But it follows some other major cities that are also restoring budgets. We're seeing cities like Baltimore, Los Angeles, Oakland, and Minneapolis moving to restore some of those budgets. Baltimore proposing $27 million. Minneapolis returning nearly $6.5 million that's needed to hire new officers. Now, 1 year after the Defund the Police movement, the crime is surging. Preliminary data shows homicides were up last year by nearly 25% nationwide and up by another 24% so far this year, according to estimates. Now, residents that are unhappy about this spike in crime are taking action. There's a community in Atlanta that was to separate from the city to form its own police department to respond. And I know you have coming up here soon a conversation with a business owner from Baltimore. Businesses there are planning to withhold their taxes until the city can better respond, they say.
So as you have just heard, law and order is back in the headlines, back in front of the public, the politicians, and most of all, many cities have finally come to their knees to realize that without the proper police staffing, funding, equipment, there is no law and order. The battle will be won. We're seeing it after about 2 years now, sitting back and looking at city after city after city being destroyed by fires, riots, people completely out of control, while law enforcement is made to sit back and watch it all happen, unable to do their job. Well, let me tell you something. The police, our citizens, churches and businesses, people from one part of the country to the next are fed up with it. We have collectively brought the leaders, the politicians, to their knees. Thanks, in most part, from the criminals. As private security personnel, we're directly involved in that law and order aspect. Did you know that 7 security officers were murdered during the riots? 114 seriously or critically injured. For the past 2 years, private security has held the line along with law enforcement. We've always been on the front line. We've always been a first responder. In a recent homicide of a security officer, the whole tragic event splashed across the media, the TV channels, the radio shows, the newspapers for weeks and months, the highest profile security officer murder that I've ever seen. And that was the murder of retired police sergeant Kevin Nishida, who was protecting a local film crew from a TV station doing a news piece when he was shot and killed, supposedly during a robbery. Sergeant Nishida has been and still is out in front with the media, highly publicized, private security officer, police officer, retired sergeant killed. And people are understanding that it's not just the police taking gunfire, it's not just the police being murdered, but that private security. In the beginning, they called Nishida a police officer. But then that was put in the back part of the story, as he was really retired and working as a security guard for a security patrol operator in California. A federal contract security officer was murdered in front of a courthouse during the riots last year. His sister now filing a lawsuit against Facebook. We are an important link in that chain of law and order. We always have been. We can talk all the way back to Pinkerton being the first private police. We can talk all the way back before that, even going all the way back into the Bible days, if you want to, about private security being used on the front line to protect. And we're seeing now. Someone asked me recently, has security changed much really since 9/11? We heard a lot during the few years after 9/11 how more people invested in security and how more businesses realized the necessity of physical and electronic security. And so I answered them in the manner which was factual, and yet, yes, it has, and no, it hasn't. But I believe that what has happened over the last 2 years has brought real light to law and order that involves not only our police, who really are limited as what they can do. It doesn't matter how many officers are on the force. You could have an officer on every street corner. He's not going to be able to secure and protect every business, every person. I've been lucky. I've heard a lot of negativity from private security in their relations and comments and interactions with law enforcement over the years, but I've been lucky. As a security company owner, operator in multiple states, I very seldom and almost never had anything negative said to me or happen. In fact, in some areas, we work hand in hand with law enforcement. And when we have a person in custody, that person gets transported to the jail and to the magistrate, and they get booked in. I believe that during this recall for law and order, for refunding the police, it's an opportunity for private security to really shine and to really be in the forefront of public safety.
From coast to coast, cops are cracking down on seatbelt violations. buckle up day and night or expect a ticket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live, they'll be on the lookout. Cops write tickets to save lives. Click it for ticket.
Can we be real for a minute? I'm a high school math teacher, and I'm a firefighter.
Man, we're going to have you out in just a minute, okay?
I'm a designer.
I'm a retired VP in business.
And I'm a student. I'm a mother.
I'm a business analyst, and I'm a volunteer firefighter.
You thought we just fought fire?
Firefighters get trained to do so many things.
Right here. Get sharp.
What we do is serious business.
Three-quarters of the nation's first responders are volunteers. That includes here in Connecticut. And lately, it's been harder than ever, with fewer citizens volunteering.
From teenage cadets like me
to seasoned veterans like me.
So what are you waiting for? You ready to make a difference? Ready to join our team?
Your community needs you. We need you. Visit everydayheroct.org or stop by your local firehouse today and take the first step of joining your fire department.
But with all of that being said, we, private security, need to do a few things to ensure that we are meeting the minimal standards of our training and various aspects of our business. First of all, one of the things that comes to mind right off the bat is that there are still many unlicensed security officers in cities and counties and states that require that they be licensed. Whatever the regulatory standard is in your area, you need to minimally meet. If you want to be a professional, if you want to be a part of this law and order chain, if you want to be a link in this chain that binds us together as law enforcers and peacekeepers, then you have to meet certain qualifications and standards. Just recently in Nashville, Tennessee, 7 nightclub bouncers arrested in the homicide of a man that was intoxicated and that was being loud. They took him down to the ground, and during his assault and restraint, he died. 4 of those did not have the minimal state license. We have to meet certain minimal training, but we should go beyond that basic minimal regulatory training. We really need to leave that behind and don't even consider that as the number of hours required for your position. You need to go well beyond whatever the state regulatory requirement is. We need to be equipped mentally, physically, emotionally. We need to be well versed and educated in the law of the land. These are just some basics. No one would put a police officer on the street and say, here's a gun and a badge. This isn't 1920. No one would put them on the street without training them, without equipping them, without making sure that they're of sound mind. Let's do our job as company owners, managers, and even individual employees. Let's be prepared for what's really happening around us. 84 security officers murdered last year, more than 91% by gunfire. Let's try to get body armor to our employees. And if our employer cannot get it, we need to save up and we need to buy it. Right now, there are multiple vendors and suppliers who offer payment plans. Stop smoking, stop eating fast food, stop spending your money on useless, worthless crap and buy that piece of equipment that's going to save your life. Now, here's a couple of things that really are basic. These are common sense statements, and yet we have to make them. Cooperate with the police. Last year, in at least 2 different situations, police arrived at a shooting at a nightclub. In one case, nightclub security refused to let them in altogether. Police had to arrest them and take them into custody to aid and assist somebody who had been shot. In another nightclub situation in Rhode Island, same thing happened there. Police were refused entry and had to make some arrests to go in and investigate a crime. Let's cooperate with the police and assist them instead of fighting against them. If you don't like the police, you're in the wrong business. And the next very common sense statement, but one that must be made, is don't break the law. If you're going to be part of the law enforcer chain, if you're going to be one of those good guys, you're going to take back the streets with law enforcement. You're going to provide that frontline public safety aspect. You need to be straight up. You need to be a citizen who obeys the laws. I'm not talking about going 10 miles over, 5 miles over the speed limit. I'm not talking about, your driving habit, but I am talking about stealing from your employer, being disorderly, threatening people, doing all these craziness that has been happening for years, and hundreds of security officers being arrested. We're not going to talk about, the cops do this and the cops. We're talking about you right now. Law and order is coming back. The police have always had a rough time at it, trying to do the best they can. And as private security, public safety, private police, it's our job to protect our client and the public. And, as somebody who's been doing this all of his life, I just don't think that we can do it any other way but the honest way. We need to be one of the good guys, not just sometimes, not just when we feel like it, but all the time. Law and order is coming back. Refunding the police is coming back. Private security continues to be hired, probably at one of the most opportune times, to be honest with you. If you have a security business or you just open a security business, you're in the right business at the right time, the right place. We're here to help you. And if you need information, you need guidance, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. That's going to do it for this radio show. Thank you for being here. Remember, you can listen to our shows on demand at the iHeartRadio, Amazon, and any place where you can download podcast, music, or other digital material. Until the next time, be blessed, be safe, and we'll see you right back here on the radio.